on a stake
Okay.
out of Paramount, waiting for the news to break. Richard, your reporting is just, you're just your commitment to the Paramount deal, Richard, is just knows no bounds. It's very impressive.
Waiting out on the sidewalk, and we have a deal, habemos deal.
Yeah, I'm the Latin on that. I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
breaking news.
Uh,
Yes.
anyway, okay, I think we have a quorum here now.
All right,
Uh,
that sounds good.
so, Sean, I'm in my car, so
Yeah. Let's
so
well, you're on brand, Richard. F1,
yeah.
you are a you know what? You're not a man if you just love a marketing gimmick, you're just keeping the theme going. I love it.
I live behind the wheel, and if this is how it ends, then I'd do that 1,000 times.
Richard
How's that?
lives his life a quarter mile at a time. He always says that very, very famous line that Richard loves to quote from Vin Diesel. So that's how he rolls.
Exactly.
But yeah, kind of a tale of two movies, Richard. Let's start with the champ as the due process goes forward here with F1. So another movie, showing up the haters. I think. I don't know. What was your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, 55 million. That's a good opening. You talk about budget or whatever, but for an original new film, Brad Pitt's a big star, but he's not a he's not giant. He doesn't tend to open giant
No, no, he's not
things.
guaranteed with yeah box office per se. He's had hits, but
Um,
not necessarily a guarantee for sure.
yeah. So the original, the give people an experience. That's there you have it. I mean, people just really felt like something different and something you had to experience in the theater and not just wait for it to show up on streaming. Um, so people came out to it, and a lot of people. What was it? About a quarter of the receipts were from IMAX. So
Yes, in the US it was 23%, I believe, was yeah, 23% IMAX. But Richard, the IMAX and the PLF, so that's the 4D, the all the other theaters, the Dolby,
yeah,
that was 55%. So over half, which that number, I notice these numbers every week. 40% is very good. If you hit that number for that combination, 55%, I can't recall a movie that hit 55% of that. So you're saying over half of the people who's, at 55, $56 million chose to spend the extra money to have that, experience, as you say. I mean, that was really I mean, the numbers are, it beat tracking. It beat a lot of people who was thinking 35, 40. Yes, that's all great. But I think, yeah, you're exactly right to take away the real nugget out of this is that it was an event and it wasn't a comic book. It wasn't guns blazing. This was a racing, a genre that, and racing films typically don't, do extremely well. I mean, Ford versus Ferrari opened, I think, 33, $34 million, which was very, very strong. It went on to do a lot of money in a multiple sense, but I'll say it right now, the highest grossing racing movie opening of all time, probably. So that's, again, this conversation that people say, what do the movies need to do? You've written about this, about, creating more events in theaters. And again, preferably that aren't tied to a superhero or something like that. And this checks all those boxes, Richard.
yeah. I mean, this is something like you don't have to care about F1, or I don't
Yeah, you don't have to, no
give it.
pre-story,
You know,
no
but
pre-reading assignments or, yeah,
just know that it's a big movie with a real star. It's not just like
right.
this is some nature documentary that they're throwing up and saying, oh, it's so beautifully photographed. It's a real movie, and it's an experience that you have to go to the theater to do it. So
Yeah.
go and buy your premium seats and get your in seat. What do they order in seat? The pizza or
Well, whatever you like,
the
Richard, you're the connoisseur here. I'm not gonna, what to
yeah.
order at the theater there, but yeah, you've also, look. I mean, Sony tried this not that long ago with Gran Turismo, and it didn't really work. So again, like it's not just cut and paste here. I mean, hats off to Apple, and F1 is a global brand. Obviously, also the other thing to note here, Richard, is the international delivered, not 2x the US amount, but close to that, which again speaks to that brand and that push that on the global scale there. We should note that it was a big global launch for this too.
I mean, I think in the past, Gran Turismo, Rush, I think these
Right.
others, they felt like both of which I like very much, but they felt like sports movies. They didn't feel like,
Yes,
which
cultural.
is fine. There's nothing wrong with
Right.
that, but we know what a sports movie is, and it doesn't tell you like, wow, this is like nothing you've ever experienced before.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously Javier Bardem as well in this movie. So he was great too, and played pretty much even under 35, over 35. There was some concern going in. Brad Pitt is he's not 40 anymore, and it's like, well, the younger demographics come out. I think it was about 30% were 13 to 24-year-old moviegoers on the opening night, Richard. So this again, like it became that of it entered that pantheon of event movie and it superseded all the kind of check marks people had against the movie, and that's a sign of a great campaign and a great product. So a win all around. And I've noted, Richard, this is it's an Apple movie, but it came out from our friends at Warner Brothers, who are now 4 for 4 since Mike and Pam were losing their jobs. So just
Yeah,
FYI.
I noticed a narrative somewhere. I won't say where, but remains well. But now it's the Leo DiCaprio PTA
Yes,
movie.
yes.
All
Uh,
I I think we're crossing the point where they can actually afford to have a
yeah.
flop. Like so
I had the same thought, Richard, this weekend. Yeah.
if it turns out at this point that that doesn't do well, well, okay, they had five big
the,
hits.
the hits make up for the flops, right, Richard? So yeah, exactly. And if
So
they can deliver weapons, hopefully in August, that yeah, at that point, I did the math on the obviously Lilo and Stitch for Disney, making money hand over fist, but they have losses from Elio and Snow White. Now, like the gains, the profit from Lilo is kind of making up for the money they lost on Elio and Snow White. So it's funny how the movie business can work out sometimes, and things people move on, Richard. But yes, just noting for the record there that and kudos to the Warner Brothers marketing team and the whole team there as well. So that was the small caveat on cherry on top of the cake there. But then we have M3GAN. Richard, I need some theories. What happened here? M3GAN 2.0, just kind of not a face plant, but $10 million here, not great. So what happened here, Richard?
um so the I don't have a great theory. I mean my big theory is that Megan, the first one, was a horror movie that skewed really young, and
Mhm.
that people took their kids to it, and I think that was what drove the success. And this felt like they were playing it more grown up and adult, and they had some spicy language in the trailer and all.
Mhm.
um
Still
and uh
PG-13 though, I will say, but yeah.
yeah, but original Megan skewed very like teen family almost. And I mean, I took my time at my 10-year-old, and there were a lot of other 10-year-olds in the theater at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they weren't playing to that same audience. Like 2.0 feel did it feel like something different? Did it feel like more the same?
Mm.
Uh, but it just it didn't it this did not speak event in the way that the first one did even.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wrote the wake up last night. I'm like, it's rare that I get like kind of baffled. I really don't have a clear thing. It's like, look, it's a sequel. Sequels tend not to do as well. The first one opened to 30. This one was 10. This wasn't the usual, kind of maybe one third or 25% drop off. This was vastly different. The exit polls were, it was a B plus cinema score. The first one had a B. Like the Rotten Tomato scores were in the 80s for the fans, which is pretty good. It wasn't like it was the movie was terrible like that. It's also like, why don't sequels work, Richard? Well, okay, number one, no one liked the first one, which I don't think was the case. I think people enjoyed the first one, and it
I
went
think
on
the first
for
one was a really well done movie,
yeah.
and
So it
it
wasn't that
really
problem where
delivered what it promised there.
yeah, it wasn't that. It wasn't that the second one was really bad. I mean, again, your exit polls were pretty good in terms of that. So, like, okay, that's your other problem. I don't think Universal underspent on the marketing, which can also be your kind of, hey, we're going to coast on fumes on the original and, let this. I don't think that was the case. So, to your point, I'm just left with maybe the marketing, as you say, maybe was sold a little more adult, perhaps. And I think, going for the summer release date may be the ultimate culprit here, where you're in the fumes of F1 ate up so much oxygen this weekend. Not that you can't have two movies, hit movies in a weekend, but that's my only other guess. Where maybe this would have been better served in a fall slot where it could have maybe owned the narrative and became that event you're talking about. Which the first one opened in early January, which was the dead time of year, and became so that's my only. I'm a little at a loss, but that's my only guess is maybe a date might have mattered a little bit, but it's a tough
I
one.
mean, the hit of the first one was a big surprise. It was like a real sleeper hit, and I think I think she made the Megan robot or whatever was like a real viral
Yeah,
sensation, and people really,
yeah.
now that she's familiar, that's a
Can you
familiar
capture that? Yeah,
entity. It's not a surprise. It's in a summer where now finally you have a bunch of family stuff playing for you're
true.
competing for that audience. There's a
Right.
bunch of things still out there, and I mean it's not the thing about it's skewing younger. It's not a pure. It's not Final Destination like a pure horror.
Right. It doesn't fall into that
So,
genre. No, no, not at
yeah.
all. And we'll say, 57% of the opening audience was 18 to 34. So again, the people that showed up were on the, younger skewing side there. Again, a small, pretty even split of men and women there in the opening night. So we'll see. But this is rare that you get to a situation where it's like I can't really give you a significant. Here's what called the patient the autopsy report of like I can't give you a real definitive reason on this one. But we'll see if the word of mouth picks up this week. We have a big week of essentially. I call it a 5-day weekend. I think most people are checking out by Wednesday here. So you have a lot of big box office weekend coming in. So we shall see. 28 years later, Richard, 68% drop on this one.
Yeah.
I like the movie,
That,
but when I came out of it, I'm like, this is either going to turn people off or be embraced. And I think people were there's a lot in that movie that was like, whoa, like, some pretty graphic things in that movie. So I don't know. But that one, they want to do another third movie. They have a second one coming out in January on this. So
they were
Sony's got
talking at CinemaCon about it. There's going to be a whole I mean, wasn't the
to.
next movie just the beginning of
Well, they
their
they shot two, so two, two is coming out in January. They have not even greenlit a third. The third's not. They planned out a
right,
three
right.
picture arc, but the third movie is not guaranteed. And this second week is a little troubling. We'll see, but Sony has to get again. You have a movie coming out in January where you got to get people back in for that, and you have a precedent set now about what this one did. So that Sony has a bit of a marketing challenge ahead, I think, for the second movie, but. Yeah, 68% from opening weekend. I know it's a horror film per se and whatever, but that's never great to see on that. So keep an
Yeah,
eye
I
out
mean,
there.
it was kind of like those were always like kind of horror, like drama
But
crossover. Like
Prestige, yeah, yeah.
yeah, they went in, and it the prestige part gets harder when you're part three, for one
True.
thing.
Yeah, sure. This is the
It's
third movie in the yeah, yeah. And I thought Danny Will did a great job, and I get it. But I mean, again, even I'm not a horror person, and there was a lot in that I'm like, okay, that was an experience. Like, so
I
I think
yeah, I
that
haven't
may
seen it yet.
yeah, definitely be careful. Hold your arm set there. We everybody, Elio, Richard, down 49% from opening weekend. I don't think this is going to be an elemental situation. We still have a big weekend of July 4th year ahead, but I just think this one's feeling like a Pixar miss. But any other parting thoughts on Elio this week?
Yeah, I mean, I know we talked a lot about it in the original animation
Yeah,
cell. I mean, it is tough to get the messages out to young people, and it's like it. I don't know. It's you hope for word of. I mean, because the reviews, the word of mouth, the cinema score, and everything are all good, and you hope that would
yeah.
click in. But I don't know. That might be too little when you have drag How to Train Your Dragon and
I
Lilo
think
still out there in the
yeah.
market. So that that might not have room to percolate. is what I would guess.
Yeah, I think you could say it shot itself in the other foot by that release date. I still don't, other than this is the Pixar date, but I think that looking at the marketplace, because again, you have a hard Martin to climb with an original film to begin with, and then you're putting it right after in the wake of a no movie you know is going to be huge, and another one that opened big with Lilo, a few weeks before that. And I just think this one it skews a little younger. It doesn't have that four quadrant Pixar halo on it. I think it plays to a young family demographic, but it doesn't really have any of that life that Pixar movies, the big ones, kind of play more four quadrant. I don't know that I've heard anyone say that that has that kind of potential on this one.
I mean,
So
I feel like there's a basic problem. Are we allowed to spoil this now? That
I think we're 10 days out here. So,
okay,
yeah, if you
okay.
cover your ears, if you're still playing to see Elio out there.
So the premise and why the main character, why he wants to leave Earth and not be part of this planet anymore involves that both his parents are dead, which is
Oh, boy, okay.
uh,
Wow. All right. Yeah.
which is Disney's used to having the mother that's dead or something, but both your parents are dead. Like is pretty rough, and I think in the marketing it kind of was the reason a lot of people were confused about the premise, and like we saw it and we at
Yeah. I
CinemaCon
mean,
we weren't sure what it was,
yeah.
and I think it's because they can't you cannot in the marketing for
Can't leave
a
it there.
kid to say, "Meet Elio. His parents
It's
are
better-
dead."
exactly.
Like, you can't
Your hands
utter.
are tied a
You
little
got
bit
to
as a marketer there. Yeah.
so you gotta kind of dance around. Like, why does this kid want to go into space?
Yeah.
what is he doing there? What is the point of this
The
whole
hero's
journey?
journey. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it required them to. I mean, I mean that revealing that part in the marketing would have been
Yeah.
his parents wouldn't have been the only ones who were dead. The
Right.
so it was like they just had they yeah I feel like they couldn't spell out the pitch for this movie here.
Yeah. No, that's
Is what
legit.
I
Yeah, I didn't realize that. That's yeah. As a marketing group is like, yeah. What do I do with this exactly? Okay, well, here's what I can do, and we hope for the best. Which I think was what that campaign was ultimately left with. Come
yeah.
see this adorable young boy, and goes into space, and
Why does he want to go into space? Why does he need to go into
he
well?
just needs to get away. He needs a break.
It's space. There was a
It's
spaceship
a tough
portal.
time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the emotional core messaging you couldn't really get through there. That's an interesting point, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the drop is again word of mouth on this. I don't know that is doing that great. We'll see what again as I mentioned, even with the F1 numbers. When you get to the math on this, Richard, it's like, this week can add so much on your business just by like, you're like, oh my God, midweek business, not just the Friday to Sunday business, where when we're going to be talking next Monday, you look at the totals on some of these films, it can do a lot. Like, you're like, oh, that movie added this much money, even though maybe the weekend was so and so, but the whole week number can add a lot of money to the gross of a film in a week like this, where the holiday falls on a Friday and then you still have the weekend, the Saturday, Sunday on top of it. So I'm very curious to see what America goes for. I think Jurassic's gonna. Did you see Jurassic or no?
I haven't seen Jurassic yet. No.
Okay, I haven't either. So,
Uh,
but the reviews some reviews dropped today. That seems like they're not better than the previous ones. I'll put it that way. I'll leave it maybe in that
I
camp.
I mean, can the what percent like if there's anything where the reviews have no
I
impact,
know. I know.
it has to be
I get it.
Jurassic #8. Like,
Yeah.
but and the reviewers just would
Well,
not
to
be on
say,
the
I
same page
think
as.
the word of mouth may help this even further than the normal base of people who do not DGAF about coming, about those reviews. Like, oh, I think the exit things will be. I think you'll get word of mouth on this. Might actually give it extra gas, is what I'm saying. This, I'm like, oh, you should go
Uh,
see this in theater, kind of thing. Again, that theatrical experience kind of thing, Richard. I can see that being a case.
I mean, I think the trailer that played best for me this weekend in front of F1 was Superman.
Okay,
I I
yeah,
think
we're waiting on that one too. Yeah,
that's the one that kind of looked like we had Fantastic Four there, which the trailer felt a little flat to me. It's
The whole thing's a little off, but the tracking is great and whatever. So, but I'm going to be in the minority on that, I think. But yeah,
yeah,
I feel the same way. But yeah, Superman feels,
uh,
really kind of, dare I say, a bit fresh. I mean, like the
yeah.
visuals look like not the usual Marvel kind of thing, and
It's it's like a kind of richer
yeah, Al,
palette, like
yeah,
and Sheen has like more kind of intensity to it than kind of the the Marvel palette there, Marvel
yeah.
Sheen. So,
Yeah, which so yeah, I am probably on a big screen looking at it. It probably even I've only seen the TV spots and whatever and watching it on my computer, so I can imagine in the theater there it comes across. So that
so
could be yeah,
if that's a hit, then anyone's still talking about Warner's is hanging on the balance
yeah.
of Paul Thomas Anderson. Like really needs to.
Like, yeah, you need a reality check on that one. Yeah, yeah. It's funny because like on the last, I know you're a big earnings call guy, but Zaz was like downplaying, like, oh, the movie business is kind of it really doesn't, not a big part. I think on this earnings call in early August, he may be singing a different tune about the movie business, being like, oh yeah, we're very proud of our movie business, and it's a core element of our future of WB
Yeah,
Co and whatever. So yeah, they could be changing the tune a little bit on how big movies are for Warner Brothers, but
yeah.
a couple of weeks on that. Well, all right, well that's checks all the boxes, Eric. Yeah, just I mean, happy for F1. Megan to just be one of those that I'm like, I really, other than the release date, I can't really think of a reason here. But just one of those mysteries of cinema history, Richard, that will go down. They pop up every now and then, so we shall see.
I mean, the takeaway on that for me and everything is that uh, it's really hard. It's like
Yeah.
people will still come out to movies. It
Hmm.
happens. We see it happen. But like every time they do it, it's like someone pushed a boulder to the top of the mountain, and
Yeah.
it's really there's no phoning it in. Like, but most things just don't connect or click, which was always the case, but even more so now.
Yeah.
And it just no, you can take nothing for granted.
Yes, I think that's an excellent point. Excellent point. So.
So
All right, Richard. We'll let you go out there in Los Angeles onto your day. You can zoom off
thank
into
you.
the streets of LA there to go to your street race or whatever you have going on this morning. So
There, I'm one more race, and
that's
then
it.
I'm
One more,
out.
just one more, and then you're done, Richard. That's it. Then you can
Yeah,
hang up your keys. So yeah, exactly,
just for that 1 minute, I could say I'm the best in the world.
exactly
The
right. Always going on Vin Diesel.
no one driving down this stretch of Melrose as well as me. I'll tell
There
you
you
that.
go. All right, everybody.
Uh,
Thanks for joining. We'll definitely be back with all the
was it?
July 4th results next Monday.
Take care.
All right,
Bye.
bye, everybody.